Okay, one of my favorite things is how often we get mistaken to be a recruiting agent or a recruiter. Resource Plus is not that. Resource Plus is a service provider of resources, specifically South African audit talent, where we will help audit firms across the globe, specifically during busy periods, with talent. So they work remotely here in South Africa, assisting the firms to complete their audit files, and off they go. So it's managed outsourced talent. So we will manage the staff in terms of performance, in terms of onboarding the individual, in terms of hiring the individuals. Those individuals become our employees. We just outsource them to yourselves. That is a need on a short-term or even a long-term basis, depending what you as a client would need. So all you would have to do is say, okay, I've won in a new engagement, but I don't have enough time to find the right individuals or the right number of individuals. Resource Plus will then be there to help you from an on-demand, remote perspective. Okay, so there's various options available depending on your needs. So let's just say you only need through busy period. We have different agreements that would happen over your busy period. So you either want a 3-month, 6-month, or a full year engagement, for example. The difference between using us or hiring locally is you save a lot of time of trying to find the right individuals. You save on costs because you're not having to have a laptop, have another desk space, or even just what is happening now in the UK specifically is the cost of NHI, which is now being changed. So a lot of the firms are having to pay additional for that. And using us in South Africa, you can save time and money on those elements. So a typical day or an agreement in Resource Plus is we walk through the whole process with you from the moment we first meet right up until the very first engagement. What we like to do is allow you as an international client have that opportunity to first test pilot. So you get to run with this for a minimum of 3 months. You test it out and see if it is something that you're looking for. We would typically present you with CVs of available staff according to your industry needs. You will then have that opportunity to interview them and pick and choose to be part of your team. Once you've chosen, we will then onboard them into your team, and in essence, they're full part of an extension of your team. So they will ideally get your email address and access into your system and teams. Yeah, that's pretty much what it would look like in Resource Plus. The only difference is a lot of the stuff is done here in South Africa. We would then, jump in and have a call with you at the end of the day just to make sure that everything is running smoothly. What makes us quite unique is specifically within the US side of things. As much as you have these time zones, but there's enough of a 4 to 5 hour layover where you can still get the work done and communicate with the manager or the rest of your team to ensure that whatever needs to happen for the rest of the day while you as Americans are still awake, you can get that information so that the next morning when we wake up, we can do the work. So it almost creates like a 24-hour working day. The other benefit is, especially within the UK, is that we are English speaking. We have a very similar culture. Our time zone difference is a maximum of 2, so that works really well. And then coming from a European perspective, we are very lucky here in South Africa that there are lots of individuals that can speak German, French, and Dutch. So we have those options of individuals that can complete audits that are able to speak and read Dutch or German or French. So one of the biggest misconceptions, I think, is not understanding the value it creates for the bigger team. In terms of the individual is there, that is an extension part of your team. It's not like they are totally someone in the back end. There are some outsourcing firms that do have those individuals that are just there to do the simple back end element. But because we have qualified accountants in South Africa that are of high quality, they understand auditing. They are able to communicate with your client and converse with your client in terms of source documentation that they need, or even providing some sort of guidance to be able to complete an audit file. So it's not necessarily that very low level individual. These are qualified individuals that you would in essence put in front of a client if they were there in your premises. And I think, as you mentioned, building trust is a big thing. I mean, a lot of these firms have these long relationships with these clients, and now changing it almost from being in person to elements of the project that's being done remotely. The clients wonder, what's happening to my data? Why is my data going to South Africa? And I think that's the beauty of data privacy and where we are as a Resource Plus firm. We hold that very closely to our hearts, and we ensure that data is transferred at the utmost best element, and the individuals that have access to the computers and systems are the only ones that have access to that. So there's no concern in that element, and I think that's the biggest piece where a lot of people are like, but where's my data going?